Women, what are some obvious hints that you made to guys you were into that flew right over their heads? Completely undressed in front of him and undid my hair. Then proceeded to tell him I was taking a bath and I lit candles and shut the lights off. He followed me in, got my hopes up, and then sat fully clothed on the toilet talking to me about serial killers for 30 minutes. I'm the guy. I was making eyes with this girl all night at a party in college. Finally, when I bumped into her at the keg, she turned to me and asked me my name. I was really nervous. I laughed and asked her why she wanted to know my name. She then said, I ought to know your name if we'll be bumping into each other all night. I thought she was telling me to stop bothering her, so I said sorry and left. Like I said, I was nervous. No. It's really funny how people can misinterpret things sometimes. Like, that's just so unfortunate, isn't it? I feel like these stories are going to be really funny. I'm excited. We should go for drinks sometime. Well, I don't really go to bars and you'd have to drive, so you couldn't come to mine for drinks. I could always stay over if you'd like. Maybe. My recliner chair's pretty comfy to sleep in. Eventually, I just went for the I've been flirting with you for months now. Are you interested or not? Approach. He just didn't think for a second that it was mutual, so never noticed the hints. Maybe my recliner chair's pretty comfy to sleep in. That is literally talking yourself out of getting with someone. My now husband and I were childhood friends, and we reconnected when I was in college. A few weeks into dating, we were hanging out alone at his parents' house. Then this happened. Me. I haven't seen your bedroom in a while. Him. It hasn't changed. 8 years later, we still laugh about that one. I was at a party talking to a girl about 2 weeks ago. Everything was going great when the naughty casually got brought up, and she mentioned how I come really fast. It's like what I'm known for. Pretty clear sign, right? Well, obviously not. I said, girl, me too. We stopped talking pretty quick after that. Had a near miss with my ex before we started dating. She messaged me saying she just picked up some drinks and was about to go to a friend's party, but she asked if she could come and visit me instead. Stupid me was like, oh, but I'm sure you'd have more fun at the party. And this went on for a few minutes. Then she finally had enough and said, I've got drinks, I really like you, and I'm so do you still want me to go to the party? Oh. When I was in high school, a girl from my class said I should come over and study in her bedroom with her. I was like, nah, I don't really care if I fail the math test anyways. Whoops. I also did fail the math test. It's funny though, isn't it? Because sometimes when someone says something, you don't actually process what it is they've said. So your answer may have been like what you thought they meant at the time. But then you look back on it and you're like, no, like I missed it completely. That's probably what happened in all of these scenarios. Met a nice, interesting, funny boy at a bar. Still living at home. Relevant. And we talked for a good hour or two. He walked me to the train station, and it turns out I just missed the last train home. I said, geez, too bad you live with your parents. I could totally crash at your place. He said it's fine, and we headed back. He made me up the spare bed at the other end of the house and said goodnight. After a while, I texted him saying I couldn't sleep. Did he want company? So we hung out in his room. He invited me into his bed since I looked uncomfortable sitting next to it. We spent the night together in a single bed without a single thing happening. I'd only ever been with one guy, so I just figured I had no mojo. Turns out he was trying to be respectful since he really liked me, and we ended up dating for 5 years. Aw, come on, that's actually really sweet though. Big up this guy. Chatting with him on Facebook every single day for 3 months. Inviting him to things. Giving him tickets to sports games. 3 months later, he grabbed my hand to help me off a curb, and I didn't let go. Suddenly, he got it. 5 years later, we're still together. I'm less subtle now. I'll just grab his D. I'm a guy. But my biggest missed sign has got to be sophomore year of college. I was hanging out with this girl late night on a Friday, one-on-one in a common area, and we're talking about trips we've taken around the globe. She mentions that she got a pair of Pikachu panties in Japan and asks me if I wanted to see them. I said, nah, that's pretty weird, and then left like 15 minutes later. I still look back on that moment and get flush with embarrassment. A long time ago, I ran into my then extremely fit, extremely attractive neighbour, and we got into a conversation about how rubbish our fridges were. After a few minutes, she asked me if I wanted to come in and check out her fridge. I was like, geez, this lady really wants to talk about her fridge. I guess I'll be a good neighbour and listen for a while. I know. So, I went inside and she proceeded to show me her fridge while standing really, really close to me. I remember thinking, geez, this lady has no concept of personal space. I honestly thought she just wanted to talk about her fridge. For some reason, it never dawned on me that no sane woman would ever invite a virtual stranger back to their apartment if they weren't interested in doing something fun and dirty, or murder. Needless to say, I left about 5 minutes after entering. Thank you so much for the gold and silver, kind strangers. Guy here. I was walking a friend home one evening, and I mentioned to her that I'm quite oblivious about when a girl likes me. I said, a girl could smack me on the head and I wouldn't realise she was into me. She then smacked me on the back of my head and I responded with, ow! What the hell was that for? Ugh, you absolute donut. Come on. The day my husband, then friend, went to tell me he was into me and wanted to officially start dating, he was super nervous. Since he prompted the date and discussion, I was going to let him start it off and then I'd just be like, yeah, me too. While he was unable to communicate for about 10 minutes and was skirting it due to being super nervous, I flat out told him, you're not going to be rejected. Just say it. I must have said it at least 3 times before I gave up and just kissed him. I'm late, but I need to share my story anyway. This is kinda a switcheroo, but I'm the girl who missed obvious signals. I was a freshman in college, hanging out with this very hot dude, whose band was on Wikipedia, so I was kinda sweating him. On the way to his place, he mentioned how he always puts on When Harry Met Sally to impress girls he likes, and asked me if I've seen it. Nah, dawg. I ain't really into rom-coms, I reply. And he's all, wait, you gotta see it. And gives me like a persuasive 5-paragraph essay about it. It was an A essay, so I oblige. We're alone at his place now, and he shows me all his music gear, which is dope, and I covet it. Shows me his favourite chord. I, too, am an aficionado of fat chords, so it seems like a productive meeting. Eventually we're on his couch, and he puts on When Harry Met Sally. I'm still thinking about his persuasive argument, and I'm ready to see if it lives up to the hype. Not even remotely considering the fact that he explicitly just told me he puts it on to romance the ladies. He makes fun of me for sitting at the other end of the couch, by the way. For some reason, I had a mondo crush on this guy, but didn't, think to sit closer. I mean, I could have. He said I smelled really good, but man, that Nora Ephron sure can write a movie. And that 40,000 headmen sure can't pick up a hint. The rest of the night goes on very chastely, and I'm wondering if maybe somewhere down the line, this nice handsome fella might be interested in some smooches. He drops me off at my place, and I think fondly on the thought. The next day, he texts me saying, my pillows still smell like you, smiley face. I still didn't get the hint. A couple weeks later, he was telling me about this nice girl he started seeing. Had a lot in common with old 40,000. Similar hair, played the same instrument, but way out of my league. The folly of unrequited lust, I thought. How I ever managed to get married is a miracle. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video and have a wonderful day. I'm a dude that has missed some obvious hints. The worst one was when I was in college. I was at a house party and a bunch of us were playing some drinking games with cards. If someone drew a certain card, then everyone had to ask the person to their left a question, and that person then had to ask a question to the person on their left. Whomever did not ask a question or answered the question posed to them lost and had to drink. There was this very attractive brunette sitting to my left. When it was my turn to ask her a question, I said, nice pants, want a freak? This was not an actual attempt to get laid. I was drunk and thought it would be hilarious because most of the questions were pretty innocent. To everyone's surprise, she looked at me and said, yeah, then took a long drink of her beer. I did not get naughty that night. I asked my current boyfriend out for coffee 12 times. He would always just respond with, I don't like coffee much. And when I would invite him to get lunch or dinner, he'd always invite another of our mutual friends to join in because he thought I was inviting him as a friend. Wow, my boyfriend might be the most oblivious person that I've ever met. But by far, my favourite moment was before we started dating. I'd already been flirting with him hard for months, and he wasn't getting it. So on his birthday, I sent a very aggressively flirty text, followed by the bikini emoji, and oops, looks like I lost something. The whole conversation was dumb, but I thought it was obvious enough. Apparently, it wasn't. Pretty sure he thought we were joking around, so instead of a steamy response, I got a, lol, nice one. I got frustrated and just said, I'm sending you now. Happy birthday. He got so flustered. It was so cute that I couldn't be mad about my failed texting attempt. I sat in front of the door and made him pick me up in order to leave. taking off my bra under my shirt every night we hung out with friends. Eventually, I was straddling him in his bed and tickling him until he finally asked if I wanted him to kiss me. I mean, fair dues, girl. Go after what you want. Do you know what I mean? She's doing exactly that. I'd been studying with friends all day for a chemistry final my second year of college. All my friends were freshmen because I had switched majors. We went back to my now boyfriend's dorm to drink a little and decompress. Note, his roommate had finished finals and moved out earlier that day, so he was the only one living there. We're a pretty open friend group, and Tipsy Me had been complaining about how I hadn't gotten laid in months. Fast forward to when everyone leaves. I ask if I can sleep over on his futon because I don't want to drive home. He says no problem. I let him know I can't sleep in jeans and take them off. He turns around to sit at his desk and do something else. I go to sleep. Months later, September 2017, he admits he was nervous as hell and wanted to, but didn't want to mess up. So a few days later, I was the one to eventually just pull him into his bedroom and freak the daylights out of him. Been dating over a year now. He's still a gentle, oblivious little nugget, and I adore him. Literally put his hand on my bazungas. It wasn't until I got my clothes off that he got the hint. Since there seems to be a little confusion, we had conversations about our relationship, knew where it was heading. He was concerned about consent on my part, so I had to make it blatantly obvious. Okay, then that's fair. Do you know what I mean? If you have to make it that obvious for him to know he's got consent, then good lad. We need more blokes like this in the world. My current boyfriend and I met through Tinder. The conversation had been going pretty well, so we decided to meet up at a bar for some drinks. A drink and some chips later, the bar was closing, so we walked around the car park and into the warehouse. Pretty much the New Zealand version of Walmart. We ended up in the book section, reading the steamy parts of romance novels to each other and having a good laugh. He then showed off his car and drove me back to where mine was parked. Despite all of my flirting, he didn't make a single move. I left feeling fairly disheartened. I texted him when I got home saying I got back safe, and he replied with, "I feel like I should have kissed you," to which I told him that's what I'd wanted. Fast forward a few days, I drove to his house with pizza, cuddled up with him to watch a movie. And just before I had to leave, I decided that I had to make the move. Been together ever since, but I won't let him live it down. Aw, I'm loving all these stories where they actually end up together after this, funny start of a relationship. It's really sweet. Sorry, I'm not a woman, but this story is relevant. Here's a bit of a reversal of the hint taken the wrong way. So I'd hung out with this girl a couple times. We'd been friends for a bit, but just kinda started hanging out in that different way one day. So one night we're hanging and she asks me to bathe with her, and I'm like, yeah. From what I'd seen from using her bathroom, her shower looked pretty badass. So we go to the bathroom. She turns the shower on to get the water nice and steamy and make the room hot and humid. She tells me to take off my clothes. I undress. I stand there, naked, waiting for her to reciprocate. Lol, aren't your clothes gonna get wet if you don't take them off? I so naively ask the clothed woman staring at my D, "No, silly, I'm going to bathe you." Then proceeded to receive the most awkward bath I've ever experienced. To top it off, when she got to the goods, she handed me a rag and told me to finish up and left the room. Overall, it was super creepy and way awkward. Lol, and before anyone says, "You nasty," or maybe it was her way of telling me I stunk, I guarantee that was not the case. This was one of the many bizarre instances when she started showing signs of mental illness and emotional instability that I was not equipped to handle as a new, not quite yet lover. Lol. Forgot to mention she was doing everything in this weird, proper geisha style manner. Just thinking about it is embarrassing. I was still just left wondering, what? So this woman genuinely just wanted to bath him. Why? Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos coming daily.